You want to play one of those? Yeah.
You're listening to WLTH AM 1370 on your radio dial. This is Coach's Corner. And guess what? We are joined tonight by Coach Earl Smith, and he's going to be with you for the next hour.
Okay, this is Coach Earl Smith here again, WLTH 1370 on your radio dial. We do have some telephone numbers that you can call us, and hey, get busy. Dial this number, 885-1371, 885-1372. We're still in the midst of the basketball season, and of course we'll get into that a little later, but I just want to kind of relate some things that I had been thinking about, because you know, it's sort of at the end, the culminating event is usually track and field, and we talked a little bit yesterday about track and field. But a lot of you have some youngsters who have aspirations for being an athlete and getting involved in sports. And usually that great question is asked is, how does sports keep your kids healthy and promote well-being? And I started thinking about some things. Just exactly what do you think could be accomplished from getting involved in sports? Number one, you can teach young people good sportsmanship and learn how to deal with a loss, a win in life, and how to handle it, both of these areas, gracefully, minus any type of tantrum that you might manifest in other antisocial behaviors. So in other words, a lot of times during the time that I was coaching, I always told my players, you never know who's sitting in the stands. When you leave the floor, a basketball competition, or you leave the football field, or whatever, you should never manifest that negativeness. If something might have been said, or the coach might have taken you out of a game, whatever. You should always stay on the upbeat, because you never know who's sitting in the stands. And I try to get that point over to them. Secondly, it helps a youngster learn how to work with others as a member of a team. And of course, when you look at some of the endeavors that you get involved in later on in life, being a team member is very, very important. I don't care what your endeavor might be. You still have that challenge there to be the best and be a great team member. Thirdly, we believe it or not, Natalie, there's some studies that have been done in reference to academic achievement. And it's sort of been printed and noted, and in a lot of writings and things that you may come across, you'll find out that many times your athletes involved or engaged in sports are usually academically sound. I mean, they maintain eligibility. In other words, in order to stay eligible, you have to maintain certain prerequisites according to the state, and then a lot of times schools might have their own individual requirements that could be a little higher than the state. So basically, you know, when your visions focus on going to college at that next level, it's of paramount importance that you try to maintain the grades. And a lot of times when you're engaged in sports, it gives you that impetus, that extra that you might need to try to be the best that you can be, not only on the court, but also in the academic setting. Next, it teaches discipline and motivation that carries over in other areas in life. And when I say discipline, well, let me put it this way. There are a lot of things that I have attained during my early career. I mean, I can get up in the morning. I'll give you an idea how my morning usually starts. I usually get up around 5 o'clock almost every day. I'm downstairs in the basement doing some exercising. And, of course, the weather's gotten better now, and I was out there on the track. I've gotten up to 2 miles walking, and then my goal, again, every summer is to reach that 4-mile plateau where I'll be able to walk 4 miles at a relatively easy pace. My point is that some of the things that was encased in my thinking as a youngster about discipline, and when you get involved in a lot of things, it's of paramount importance that you have this a part of your makeup, that is to be disciplined. Another thing is kids in sports are more likely not to use drugs or to get involved in drinking or smoking and things of this nature because they know that it's a handicap as far as trying to be productive in your endeavors on the field or off the field. So usually kids who engage in sports will stay away. Yes. We have a caller. Caller, you on?
Good evening, Coach.
Yes. How are you doing, Nadine?
I'm blessed. You know, let me just say that I hear a lot of people say there's no I in team. And I remember the owners told Michael that too, Michael Jordan. But you know what he said? There is an I in win, and I want to win. So, you know, the reason why I brought that up is that being involved in sports enhances a person's self-esteem.
Right.
That's all about I. Because there are a lot of children with low self-esteem. But you find out people that invest time in sports, you're exercising your body, you become mentally more sharp, your body is more in tune with different parts of your body are being exercised. And you find that one person that excels in one sport, they're usually involved in multiple sports.
Correct.
So they can't say they're bored because in my family, if you were going to participate in sports, you had to get your grades. And you know I loved it. This is when they got their I-step scores and everything, and I saw that they were up above 98% of the national norm, I was happy. It was a time to celebrate, get the pizzas, do all that. And I'm not just talking about my children, but I'm talking about my little charges. I was so happy when they come in, Grandma, Miss Nadine, I want to show you my scores. I was happy. That's what it's all about, building up your character because it takes you farther. You have more chances of becoming a better person and well-rounded, and volunteering is one way of enhancing one's self-esteem. But sports hey, it's almost time for my game. I thought you were going to be on at 4 o'clock, so you can go home and see some of those games.
I might mention that we became vacillating back and forth on this time situation. But
you know what is getting ready to start in a minute. The Indiana game is getting ready to start.
I'll be
so that's why I want to call you early. I'll be listening to you, but I got to look at my game. You know, I enjoy reading. I enjoy watching things that I like to watch, and I like to watch sports. I like to watch stories that have autobiographical in nature. I like romance movies. I like cowboy movies and all of that. I like to be entertained, but I also like to learn too, and I enjoy radio. I've always enjoyed radio. And do you know that radio is why radio has always been popular with me? Ever since I was a little child, because it enhances all of your faculties. It gives you a chance to say, well, I wonder what's going on. And like the Fat Man and Long Range and all those old soap operas that used to come on radio, I enjoyed them because you didn't know what the action was, so you had to be mentally sharp to hear what they were saying and stay in tune, and you could imagine, couldn't you? It's nothing more important than your imagination. So when you're involved in sports, that enhances it. And when they take all those good things like sports and other activities that you can do in school, my God, they've taken away a lot. And I got pictures of your sister. I'm looking at them now. I don't know who the people are, but look like they're at a forum or something. I got some things that I need to give you, too.
Hey, well, before you hang up, I did tell I saw Arthur.
His sister or
artist.
him?
I saw him the other day. And I made up a tape, a cassette. I mentioned to the sister that I would have one. So I have a cassette for the sister, Robbie. I have one for Robbie. I also have one for Arthur, and I have one for Orson. Now, my point is, how do I get these tapes? I need to get them to the sister.
Well, she's in my building. I had said I was going to come down there one day because I got a lot of pictures I need. I got Mrs. Sanders' albums that I told her I would give her. I've got quite a few things that I said I was going to bring down there to you, and I need your your autobiography and everything.
Well, I tell you what,
and a picture of you.
Let's set a target date.
Yeah, that I can come down there. It'd have to be in the daytime. When I'm at home, and I mean, when it's nighttime, I'm one of those that have to look down and make sure I don't go into anything. But, you know, my nephew was here this past weekend, and he said, Terre Haute has potholes, too. Anytime there's the kind of severe weather, he was talking about all the snow they had. He said, Gary's not the only one. Those don't bother me because we got them everywhere. So if people think that they're just in Gary, that's a lie. They're everywhere. So anyway, I better hang up because I want to see the game. But we need to get together on time. You better call me because you...
Nadine, hold on 1 second. Okay. Monday, this coming Monday, from 5 to 6, I will start my new time, okay?
Okay.
I want to come out to your building and do my program. That's
well, don't do it during sports time. Nope. I don't want. Hey, when it is sports time, my nephews and my niece-in-laws told me they were coming there too. I guess they knew that they had better go see their other auntie later, and they came to see me by 11 o'clock. I was getting out of the tub, and there they were out in my front. They knew that after the game started, they don't have my full attention. So,
well, I'll drop it. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'll just bring the tapes out there and leave them in care of...
Well, you could do that.
What's her name? What's her
but
name?
But it would have to be earlier because, I tell you what. I could give you her phone number off the air, and you can call her and make an arrangement to give them directly to her.
Okay, well, we'll call back now.
Or even if you called me, I could open the door. But like I said, once sports start, you don't have my full attention. Okay, we'll talk later.
I'm trying to get a word in. But anyway, I'm asking Nadine if she would call 885-1371 and leave that information with Natalie here. And so what we'll do is we will call the sister because we have called her before, and I can set up some arrangements where we can get the tape to the CD that is for her brother and Arthur and, of course, Orson, of course, and she has a tape. I have those three things made up. I interviewed at the Hall of Fame the Hall of Fame honor that was bestowed on Austin artists, and so I have those tapes ready, and I'd like to get those out to the family. We did play them on the program a couple of times. But anyway, getting back to one of the things that I was talking about, the advantages of being involved in sports and what it has done to promote well-being. And the last point I want to leave with you is sports requires good health, and kids who are concerned with good performances in sports have a solid reason to want to steer clear of drugs and smoking and things of this magnitude. So it helps them to form a new and lasting friendships with other kids. And when I look back on the bonding that had taken place with many of the guys that I was respective teams with, we still have a closeness there that has been with us and will be there everlasting. So those are some of the solid things that are more or less garnered when you're when you're really involved in sports. So we just want to behoove you to, if you're thinking about question the fact as to if you want your son or your daughter to get involved in sports. There's so many, many positive things that outweigh the negative aspects. Okay, now we're going to take a slight break here. This is Coach Earl Smith here, WLTH 1370 AM, and we'll be right back as we continue on with Coach's Corner with Coach Earl Smith.
This is Sheriff John Bunsich. We're facing a lot of challenges these days. Increased drug use amongst our youth, gang warfare, domestic violence, child abuse, senior citizen safety, and much more. While serving as your sheriff, I have addressed these issues head-on, utilizing the resources of the Lake County Sheriff's Department. Help me continue our task. Let's work together to continue our efforts to make Lake County safer. Re-elect John Bunsich as your Lake County Sheriff.
Paid for by the Bunsich Boosters.
Elgin is doing a good job as Calumet Township trustee. After 3 decades of the self-serving and corrupt Dozier Allen administration, Mary Elgin took charge of the township offices and cleaned up the mess he left. Even with the severe cuts imposed by the state, Mary Elgin's administration still delivers services to thousands of deserving people every year through a streamlined and efficient staff. So why is she being targeted through a high-profile political raid? The answer is clear. For over 8 years, Mary Elgin has stood up to the state of Indiana and its Tea Party governors who want to shut the township down. Mike Pence, not Mary Elgin, wants to abandon people who need help for housing, food, medical care, and even to be buried. Mike Pence has no heart for poor people, and he wants Mary Elgin out of the way so he can finish the job of destroying that office. We can't let that happen. We won't let that happen. Voters have more sense than that. Last-minute theatrics will not sway this election. Tuesday, May 6th, vote to re-elect Mary Elgin, our township trustee, our trusted friend and public servant, paid for by Epic.
Okay, Coach Earl Smith here again, WLTH 1370 AM on your radio dials, and Coach's Corner here. We have some numbers that you can call us, 885-1371, 885-1372, area code, of course, is 219. Before we get into the basketball thing anymore, there was an article in the paper today about the Gary Amateur dates announced, and it indicates, of course, there's no snow on the ground, and the forecast doesn't indicate any snow for the next 10 days. So that means that it's safe to talk about one of the longest running amateur golf tournaments in Northwest Indiana. And that, of course, is the Gary Amateur Tournament, which will return to South Gleason Park Golf Course for the 87th time. And that's quite a few years that tournament has been in existence. Tournament dates are June the 7th and 8th, and the cost is $55. Payments are always due the day of the tournament. The deadline to enter is at noon on June 3rd. There will be a men's open division up to 54, a women's division, a senior division, ages 55 to 64, and a super senior division, 65 and up. There will be 2 flights in the open division. And, of course, last year, John Flanagan, it was the first time entered in the tournament, won by 2 strokes over past champions. Tom Zimmerman, his name has been sort of encased in amateur golf here, and Taylor Noel. Flanagan shot a 2-round total of 2 under par. Look for the entry blanks in the Post-Tribune, and, of course, you can go online also to secure that. Because we have a lot of guys who engaged in golf. I know Ross has probably got his game going, and some of the other golfers in this proximity, because I'm looking at Bruce Bradford and some of these guys who are former coaches in the district now sort of relegated themselves to playing golf. As a matter of fact, I was at the golf course the other day, and they were asking me, I said, Coach, when are you going to bring your clubs back out? Well, my clubs have been sitting in the garage for a long time. Excuse me. I was kind of confronted with an issue. See, if you're playing golf, it takes a lot of time. And I picked the game up real fast. As a matter of fact, I was bragging over the fact that Par Makers had their annual tournament. I don't know if that tournament is in existence anymore, but we had to qualify on the little side to show you how long ago it has been. That's not an operating golf course anymore. That was one of the best iron courses, I believe, in the whole area, maybe in the state. And so I shot under. And, of course, that placed you in a position to go to the championship round. And the next day, we were at the championship round, which is on South Gleason during that time. And I can vividly remember that, normally when you don't play that well or your score is real high, you tee off like early in the morning when all the dew is on the ground. But I was teeing off in the afternoon. They said, you got Coach Earl Smith is on the tee there. And, of course, I was standing there without my magical club and my nice golf bag and had all the tires. I was looking like a great golfer. And for some reason, that pressure hit me. And I think the ball trickled about 5 feet off the tee. It was very, very embarrassing. But let me just say this. if you think golf is an easy game, you got another thought coming. There's a lot of pressure. You look at some of the golf that's being played on TV, and these guys have these little 4 feet or 6 feet putts, and almost automatic. And yet they still, when they hit that golf ball, it seems like it just kind of veers over to the right or veers over to the left, because you have to know how to read the greens, and you know, there's so much involved in the game, and it really is kind of disheartening to some extent when we don't have more of our young men and women engaged in golf, because I'm telling you, it's a lifetime sport. I can go out there and play golf at my age. I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but I can still swing a club. You know, size has nothing to do with it. Height, weight, I mean, it's something that everybody can play. Plus, it's enjoyable. And if you don't want to walk the course, you can ride it. You can get on the cart. I never liked to ride the cart because I got to my ball too soon. And a lot of times things be going through your mind, you know, before you get there, you know. Because I was going to usually have the same outcome anyway. I probably going to miss the ball. Whether I had ridden there or whether or not I had walked, didn't make any difference. But anyway, I thought I mentioned that. This is kind of chuckle on the side there as far as golf is concerned. Now, Natalie, I'm not too sure if you're aware of the fact who the coach of the year is for professional basketball. I'm throwing that question out to you.
You want me to answer, or is it something you're going to throw out to the
No, I'm going to ask you because, you know, if you don't know this, then you're not a real fan of whom you say you are a fan of.
I'm a fan of Spurs.
Yes.
San Antonio, yes.
The head coach.
Right.
And I know you won't tell me what his name is.
Why should I do that?
Because, I mean, you're an ardent fan. Anybody... I'm going to give you a hint. Greg is his first name.
Really?
Yes.
That doesn't help me at all. See, I'm an ardent fan, but I like the team, the players on the team.
Well, Greg Popovich is the head coach there at Maryville. Not Maryville, but he's a Maryville graduate.
Is he?
Yes, he graduated.
With the big head and all of that, yes.
He graduated from Maryville, and matter of fact, he's a real close friend to Chuck Hughes. He and Chuck played together on a national Biddy championship team way back when, you know, when Biddy was, of course, it's still large today, but the teams were real dominating in this proximity. I don't know exactly how dominant they are at this point in time. But Greg Popovich, the head coach of San Antonio, was voted the NBA Coach of the Year. This is the third time he's annexed this particular award, and he's a very humble individual. As a matter of fact, when they interviewed him and tried to get his remark as to how he felt about it, he said, "Yes, this is my third one. It's outside on the hood of my car with the other two." You know, because I mean, he plays everything down because he attributes everything to his ball players, his assistant coaches, and all the people that help make the team what it is. He likes to bestow that type of honor on them, and he's a real unique individual. Had a chance to meet Popovich. He's been to Gary several times. Chuck Hughes had him in here for a couple of instances, and he's always been amenable to the fact to come back to Gary in his proximity, that is, to do the things that he could do. So anyway, Greg Popovich walked away with his third winning the Outstanding Coaches Trophy. And of course, there were some other guys who finished in the ranking. The head coach for the Bulls, I imagine he received a vote or two. But when you look at some of the outstanding coaches, there were quite a few coaches. The head coach from, I believe it was the team out of Arizona, the Phoenix Suns. That coach was in contention. And then you had, I imagine, the coach from. Well, when you look at, there were several coaches who had a chance to annex this particular award. But anyway, that's hats off to Popovich. But they mentioned something about Craig Sager. I don't know if you're familiar with Craig Sager Jr. He's the guy that when they interviewed him doing the various professional sports, he always had this wild outfit on. He either had on a crazy checkered shirt, matched with a tie. In other words, all his colors and things, nothing seemed to blend in. He just stood out. He was noted for the attire that he won the respective games, but he's battling cancer at this time. But they were just talking about some of the comments and things that was being manifested toward him. And of course, his son is now working the sidelines in place of his dad. So Craig Sager, he's a part of the NBA, as much as a part of the NBA as the ball is, you might say, because he's just that he sort of commanded that type of respect. So anyway, we wish the best to him. But Popovich garnered 59 first place votes, and of course we mentioned something about the Phoenix Suns coach was Jeff Hornacek, who had I think 37 votes, and of course Chicago's mayor was also in contention for that particular honor. So there you have it again, another local area being the recipient of a major award, and that is Greg Popovich won the NBA Coach of the Year, his third trophy that he's the next. And of course most people seem to feel that he is by far the most outstanding coach in the NBA. And I don't think you have too many people that would argue with that particular point of view. So there you have it. Now we'll talk a little bit about the games last night. I'm telling you, if you had a chance to watch that ball game last night, I mean, it just goes to show you, I don't know what you want to call it, luck, what you want to call it. But anyway, when the team out of Oklahoma, the Oklahoma City, found themselves down by 5 points, I believe, with maybe 19 seconds to go in the ball game, and it looked as though everything was like over with. But they were able to score, and that shot that Durant hit, falling down out of the corner, couldn't see anything. He just threw the ball up, and it went in, and he completed a 4-point play, which put them 1 point behind at that time. But anyway, the final score was Memphis 110, and OKC, the Oklahoma team, 105 in overtime. Did you get a chance to see the game last night?
No, I didn't get a chance to watch it.
It was, I think it's one of the greatest basketball games that's been played. I mean, it was just, the score just vacillated back and forth. And Durant, I don't know, I mean, it's always some room for debate there when you make a comparison between Durant and LeBron. But Durant is a better shooter, there's no question about that. He shoots so deep, it's unbelievable. He's almost crosses mid-court line, and the ball's going up for a long three. But anyway, he started to put the team on his. Say what?
Miss Nadine gonna call you about that tomorrow. You know, you can't talk about her Brian.
Well, let me put it this way: that the winning team here again was the team out of. We'll see. We'll see. I'll rub it in tomorrow night. And of course, that game with the Clippers, they really bounced back. You know, the only thing I kind of disliked in a way about that, because you had two outstanding coaches there going up against one another, best of friends, and the Clippers won by a score of 138-98. They won a 40-point margin, and I had some tapes on the play, but I'll probably maybe save that to play maybe Thursday or so, but they'll probably be engaged in another game. But the turning point, one of the big aspects of that game was Blake Griffin. Blake scored 35 points and a fantastic shooting night, 13 of 17 and 6 rebounds and 1 assist. And I believe he had a steal too, but then Curry scored 24 points, and of course they sort of had him bottled up a little bit, but he still is gonna score. But anyway, the score was the Clippers 138, the Warriors 98. They sort of evened up the series now at 1 apiece, and now I think they head to the Warriors now to their home base, and that's one of the toughest places to play in, is where the Golden State Warriors played. So it's going to be interesting. I think that game resumes tomorrow, and it's sort of like bragging rights for LA to some extent, because the Clippers are in battling with the Lakers, and all this time during this time the Lakers have always been the front runners, the focal point for the community and so forth. But this is very important for the Clippers to sort of move on to that next level, but it's really starting now, because the series has evened up at 1 apiece, and as they move back into hostile territory when they move to play the Warriors. And of course they lost last night by a tremendous score there, 138 points, gave up a lot of points, 138 to 98 was the winning margin of 40 points. Blake Griffin, 35 points last night, 13 of 17 from the field, 6 rebounds, and of course Curry, as I mentioned before, 24 points. He's sort of doing his part, but somebody else is going to have to help out to make it a little bit more interesting. And then we get to that Memphis game again. As I mentioned before, Memphis won the game by a score of 110-105. Overtime. I got to give the Memphis team credit. The Grizzlies really stayed in there and battled. They were up a couple of times and looked like they were shoe-in, but OKC came back with Durant and Westbrook, probably the two best 1-2 combinations in the league today. I think they led the NBA in scoring as a tandem. So there you have it. Memphis move on, and along with OKC. Now they return to Memphis, and there again, a hostile land. It's always tough to win in the NBA at home for the visiting team, that is. So they're going into a hostile environment, and we just have to see exactly just what happened. Now, some interesting commentary that was mentioned the other night. I like to listen to the after the game commentary when you have Barkley and Shaq and started making comments. And last night they got into a little verbal discussion, a little argumentative situation, you might say. Barkley was talking about the Pacers, the Indianapolis Pacers, and as Nadine said earlier, and maybe she can call us before the game is over. I don't know, maybe Natalie can pull it up over there so we can sort of have a running score as to what's happening on a play-by-play basis. But anyway, Barkley called them, this is a new word for me, wussies. W-S-S-I-E-S. That's what he called the team for Indianapolis. They played like a bunch of wussies. The great Larry Bird called them soft. So I'm under the impression that wussies and soft, there's a comparison between the two. They're both synonymous with one another, exactly the same meaning. That's the way they played. Barkley said they didn't go hard after rebounds. He said they didn't go out hard after loose balls. They didn't close out on defense in a very aggressive manner. They didn't screen hard. They didn't make solid cuts to the basket. And they gave up 14 offensive rebounds. He said they played like a bunch of wussies. Let me put that W in there, wussies. That's what Barkley said. And then he said if they really want to compete, they're going to have to make some changes. Hilbert, the big 7-foot center, was sorry last night. I'm sorry for you Pacer fans out there. He had a horrible game, and Atlanta just took advantage of it with the quickness and speed that they had. So they said what they might have to do is to put Hilbert on a short leash. In other words, limit his playing time. Also, George Hill did not have a good time. So maybe they need to take both of these guys and place them on a short leash. In other words, don't keep them out there too long if the productivity is not there. So I think they went with them a little bit too long last night. But anyway, if the Atlanta team, and the thing about it is, this is a ball club that entered the playoffs and did not even have a winning season. They lost more games than they won. And so that's sort of the problems that you have with how some teams are able to get into the playoffs and not have a winning season when you got other teams that did have a winning season, but because of the division that they're in, they were not able to crack that position to get in as a contender to be in the playoffs. But anyway, we'll see just exactly what happens tonight. The game is underway, and if there's anybody out there listening now, if you guys want to call in and give us a score, we will be very amenable to taking in your ideas about that. So with that, we're going to take a slight break here. This is Coach Earl Smith.
It's 21-17.
In favor of whom?
The Hawks got 21.
Oh, that'll look good.
Coach, you only been like a minute and 30 seconds in the game. Are you serious?
It doesn't look good. Because I thought 20.
It ain't over till the fat lady sing now.
21-17 down by 4, which means, see, the disadvantage that you have when you have a team that's coming into a playoff like Atlanta, and most of the experts had sort of picked a runaway thing for the Pacers, and they were able to defeat the Pacers. So now just imagine what that's done to the Eagle players with Atlanta. Jeff Teague, Indianapolis kid, and he's played with Pike High School out in Indianapolis. I remember when he was playing at that level, and so he has a younger brother who also got drafted by the Bulls. Drafted him, but I think they just traded him though. He's traded to Brooklyn. But the Teague brothers are in the league. They're very solid ball players. And, of course, the emphasis, he really took them to school this other night. And so the thinking is they're going to have to come some kind of way to corral the ball playing of Teague. He's an outstanding player there. And so we'll see. Anyway, that's early score of 21-20.
21-20.
Well, they're making a little slight comeback there, see. So we'll see. But I mean, I have to pull for the Pacers. I mean, that's Indiana, and I'm not really, even though I have a Pacers captain I wear every now and then, I'm not a real fan of the Pacers. I'm more or less, I'm not a real fan of the Bulls either, but I like the Bulls. And Joe King Noah, as a matter of fact, we'll make an announcement about that. We're going to take a break here. We're going to call back and talk about the befitting honor that was bestowed on this young man. Okay. Coach Earl Smith here again, WLT.
26-21 Hawks.
26-21 Hawks. And, well, 26-21, that's 5 points. The first time it was 4, and then it was 5. But it's still early. But it looks as though the Hawks are playing well. Nadine, are you on the edge of your seats right now? I'm not too sure. But anyway, speaking of former greats, I'm going to kind of go back to, like more or less in my day, but former Hawks All-Star, matter of fact, Lou Hudson, and those of you who really know something about basketball, passed away at the age of 69. And he was a 6-time All-Star. Lou Hudson died at the age of 69, as I mentioned before. The Atlanta Hawks said he died Friday in Atlanta. He was hospitalized and listed in grave condition last month after a stroke. Hudson starred for the franchise in St. Louis and Atlanta. He averaged 20 points a game, 13 NBA seasons, including 11 with the Hawks. He finished his career with the Lakers. His number 23 was retired by the Atlanta Hawks, along with Bob Pettit, another all-time great, as well as Dominique Wilkins, who are the only other Hawks players who have their numbers retired. He played at the University of Minnesota, and they also retired Hudson's number. So he was a great ball player, and those of you who are really, really basketball fans, you have to remember that play of Lou Hudson. He was one of my favorite players during the time that he played. Very interesting things have. We've been talking about some of the players who've acknowledged the fact that they are going pro, and the one and done situation seems to be very strongly embarking on most of the high school players leaving there going to college. They seem to have that sort of in their minds that they're coming out one of the top rated players. But they had a listing of some of the players who are coming out, and just to give you an idea of some of these players, it might bring back some of your memories. If you had a chance to see that McDonald's All-American game last year, I had a chance to go over that last year, and I saw some of these players. But anyway, James Randall, of course, is the Kentucky freshman, has definitely indicated he's coming out pro, and he's been projected as being a lottery pick. And then Jabari Brown, I don't know too much about him, out of Missouri, but Jahi Carson, a sophomore out of Arizona, only 5 feet 10 inches in height, but has a tremendous jump shot. And the upside of him is that he's projected to be a first-round draft pick at 5 feet 10. He must be a great player. A lot of these guys are point guards. Samaji Christian or Xavier, sophomore point guard, and you had Jordan Clarkson, and then one of the Joel Embiid, the big player from Kansas. A lot of people felt that Kansas had a solid chance of winning the NCAA, off the record, more or less. They were projected as being one of the teams that could possibly get to the Final Four. But when they lost the big stud in the middle, it created a big difference. He encountered a back injury, and through the advice of the people who are medically knowledgeable about these things, they advised him not to play any more basketball and could jeopardize his career. And he made a wise choice by not playing anymore. And this kid, Tyler Ennis, the kid from Syracuse, now standing, he's just a freshman. And he's also been projected to be a first-round draft pick. And going on down, of course, Gary Harris, the sophomore kid that played in Indianapolis, also played at Michigan State, is 6'4". He's projected as possible lottery pick, and of course, the lottery pick is in the top 3 picks, and his upside is just tremendous because he's just a great shooter at 6'4". They like the way he plays defense, and he has the versatility to be a great player. So he's been projected as a possible first-round draft pick and maybe a lottery pick. And of course, then we move on to another kid that James McAdoo. I'm pretty sure it's McAdoo's son, who was an outstanding player, but it's possibly mentioned as being a second-round draft pick. The thing that really they have to take into consideration, they got that developmental league called the D League, and a lot of these players, if they're not going to be able to crack that bench, to be on the bench or be a significant player, they usually send them down to the D League for some continued development. That's why they call it the D League. And so, but anyway, Glenn Robinson III, I was reading some comments about him, and a question had come up as to why he might have decided to come out pro, but from all of the readings and ratings that you read about, you will come across the fact that Glenn Robinson III has been projected as a first-round draft pick, and I guess when you got that hovering over you, you have to go ahead and make that move because first-round draft pick is guaranteed money, and so it appears as though Glenn Robinson III is in that predicament, and you can't blame him for going for the goal, as they might say. So it's a surprise of a young kid, this kid James Young from Kentucky. Those twins, the Harrison twins, sort of overshadowed him, but that's the left-handed kid that had that pure jump shot, about 6'5", 6'6", from Kentucky, only a freshman. But he's also been projected as a first-round draft pick. So as you can see, there are players who, once they get involved in the sports thing and coming out of high school, they're sort of thinking about the pros. And then only one and done, that seemed to be the thing that's sort of hovering over many of the bigger schools like the Dukes, North Carolinas, and Kentuckys, and UCLA. They seem to garner a lot of these players who have that one and done tag on them. And of course, it's quite a position to be in. It's an investment. I imagine a lot of parents today would think about things like that. If you have a son, I mean, I'm not saying that he's going to be a pro, but there are some things that you would be thinking about, especially if he has that kind of playing ability. I'm thinking about Winston Garley. When Winston was an outstanding guard here at Gary Roosevelt, and of course he went on to advance his college degree that is, and then he played ball in the pros for about 10 or 12 years, and he has a young son, and he was rated, I believe, the top point guard in the nation, and as a sixth grader. I'm talking about in that sixth grade level. So they rate players at the sixth grade level, the seventh grade level, the eighth grade level, freshman level, and then they move on into the high school situation. But the next thing I knew, Winston had moved. He left Gary. He was the head coach at Westside. He gave that job up, head basketball coach, and moved to Nashville, Tennessee. So the question has come up several times, why would you make that move? Well, I don't know exactly what the rationale was behind the move. The only thing I know is that the number one eighth grader in the country lived in the Tennessee proximity, Nashville, I believe. So I think somebody came up with this idea, said if you get the number one point guard, I mean, to go along with the number one big player, or the number one player, put those two together, can you imagine what they might be like when they get in on the high school level? I'm going to keep my eye on this because the last time I checked with Winston, his son was having a fantastic year there in Tennessee. So we have to keep that in mind. He's one of the earmarked for being one of the great players, and we'll just have to see just what happens. Another great player that we've lost, but there will be some others. Because the good thing about basketball is the type of sport that you just continue to work on, you get better and better. It all depends on how much time you want to put into the game. And now that you have a grandchild there who has aspirations for reaching that plateau, and I'm happy with the fact that she has the right attitude, that she wants to be better than what she is.
Coach, you're the wind beneath her wings. I have to give you that because you're such an inspiration. And the other person, I mean, I went to get her last night from practice, and this girl was so excited. I didn't realize that the picture on the wall at the Hudson Campbell was Angela's picture. She was just too excited about that.
They have a picture of Angela at Hudson Campbell?
Yes, it is on the wall. She's standing on the court with a ball. And my granddaughter, and I looked at it, and I didn't know when she kept telling me, you know who that is? And I couldn't get it, but then, because I didn't have my glasses on, but she was so excited, and I think that just even inspired her more.
See, Angie is, he's probably one multi-talented type individual, because I was coaching at Lou Wallace during that time, and Angie went downstate in the high hurdles. A lot of people don't realize she had the potential. As a matter of fact, she had the upside on her as a hurdler was world class, and she had a chance to be invited to the training camp that they have. I believe it's in Oregon or someplace that they bring in some of the top high school athletes to go out there for further training in track and field. That's how good she was in track. She got second, I believe, downstate. The girl that beat her, I mean, it was quite a race. And so to make that transition to basketball, she was able to do that. As a matter of fact, I still have some pictures of the press conference that we had. Of course, she chose to go to the University of Iowa, and I'm sitting up here with my Iowa cap on and my Iowa jacket and so forth. But anyway, I didn't have the utmost influence on that, but I was happy that she made that choice. And she had a great career there at Iowa, played some pro ball, and I'm not too sure if Angie had gone overseas or what. But she has two young daughters that's coming up right now.
Yeah.
There's going to be something else.
In fact, Jasmine told me that. I guess the one that practices with her every week, she was saying how good she is as well.
Yeah, she's, as a matter of fact, Angie was assistant coach. She used to be the head coach at Lou Wallace. I'm not going to, go into all the things negative things that had gone into where we lost Angie as a head coach. But anyway, it was really funny because when the word was out that she wasn't coaching at Lou Wallace anymore, Lake Central had those tentacles out that was just reaching. They said, Angie, grabbed Angie and pulled her in to Lake Central. So she served on the coaching staff there at Lake Central for a few years. And she got out of coaching because I've often asked her whether or not she was interested in going back because she used to be a fantastic coach. But she more or less focused in on her kids, on her daughter, and working with them. And they're gonna be something when they graduate. No question about it.
Well, I can tell you she is well sought out because when we first started, we were practicing at a different gym, and it was just so many people there with their children, their daughters, to practice with her, as well as when the children finished, then the adults moved in to play with her. So she's good at what she does.
She's still practicing at the same setting out at McCullough?
We're actually over at the Hudson Campbell.
Oh, yeah, Hudson Campbell now?
Yes.
And that's on what night? That's Monday night?
Yeah, on Monday nights, yes.
What time is that?
It's from 5:30 to 6:30.
5:30 to 6:30. Well, see, if I had that 4 to 5 setting, well, that's okay. I can take my program over there. I've been saying I wanted to take it to Hudson Campbell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But by the way, I'm sort of initiating a new time next week. Starting Monday, I'll be on between 5 and 6, and I like that early time because it gives me a chance to engage and get more involved with some of the sports and things that's going on, actually to be there in person. Because usually 6 to 7, it's already started, but I got to get used to the 5 to 6, which shouldn't be a problem at all. I'm looking forward to that. Anyway, this has been Coach's Corner here, WLTH 1370 AM on your radio dial. For some reason, time really went by fast. I wanted to make some telephone calls to some people, and they're so engaged in the game.
38-28, Hawks.
38 to what?
28 Hawks.
That's a 10-point lead. Well, Nadine, if you're crying child out. She's a Pacer fan, 100%. And I just want to mention too that I have taken the liberty of developing some tapes, some CDs more or less, and I do have a CD, I believe, for the artist family, and I think we have a telephone number for the artist family, I believe. Do we, Nadine?
Yes,
Nadine
she gave me the phone number.
She gave you the number? Okay,
yes.
I'm going to make that call as soon as I get off the air and make the arrangements so we can deliver those CDs that was developed there at the Hall of Fame for Ortston artists. They call him Happy. That's what they call it. That was his nickname in school.
Wow.
Happy. That's why we're going to leave with Happy. Take care, Coach Earl Smith. We'll see you Thursday. Have a great evening.